India story, so we can,
Yeah.
I mean, start afresh from that. Yeah.
Sure, sure. So yeah, so the India story, as I was saying, that India is bound to become a 7.5 trillion or maybe a $10 trillion market. I'm sure we don't have any questions about that. There is no question that it will become. That the question is, how soon are we going to become? But understanding that the savings rate and the kind of expenses that we do, please imagine that a $10 trillion economy would have what kind of discretionary expenses and what kind of savings. And with that savings, most of the money is expected to come to equities, Indian equities, which is a favorite asset class of an Indian. So, which is the reason I'm very bullish on the Indian story. And I also feel that our growth model is very different from other people. When Singapore was just $100 per capita GDP in 1970s, or when US was a 2000 per capita GDP in 1950s, or Japan was a 2000 in 1980s, or China was the same capita GDP in the early 2000s. See the way they grew tremendously after these particular years. But India has a different growth model. They have a different way of growing. There are various initiatives that India is taking towards climate change also. And the best part is that our industries are benefiting from it. New opportunities are coming up and businesses are taking a lot of advantage out of it. So India is growing fast. India is growing green. If you also see digitization, India is far ahead. Digital payments, DigiLocker, DigiYatra, UPI, OCN, and many other tech platforms which is available in India are not available in most of the economies today. Our ecosystem, that we have around 1 lakh startups. They come from 670 districts, and they are solving problems in 56 different sectors. So now what I'm trying to say is that it leaves no doubt that this is going to be India's decade. This is one of the reasons why we are discussing India today. And let's start with the main subject today, which is how to study company. And I hope everybody will take home some learning from it. Now, first, the first place where I always start and I spend the maximum amount of time is to understand the business and the factors which are governing it. Now, there are two factors that govern business. One is an internal factor and one is an external factor. इंटरनल फैक्टर क्या होता है? इंटरनल फैक्टर इज आप बिजनेस को समझो. जैसे इफ द बिजनेस शुड बी स्मॉल इन साइज, उस जो सेक्टर में वो बिजनेस ऑपरेट कर रहा है दैट हैज टू बी वेरी ह्यूज, एंड दिस कंपनी हैज टू हैव द पोटेंशियल टू बिकम वेरी बिग. तो आपको क्या करना है? आपको एक कंपनी ढूंढनी है विच इज अ फिश इन द ओशन, नॉट एन एलिगेटर इन द पॉन्ड. सो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि डीएनए क्या है बिजनेस का. फॉर दैट आपको उसकी एग्जैक्टली यूनिट इकोनॉमिक्स क्या है ना, वो समझना बहुत जरूरी है कि एवरी सिंगल यूनिट इकोनॉमिक्स क्या है, सम बेसिक रेलेवेंट रेशियोज सेक्टर में क्या रहते हैं, उसकी जो अर्निंग है वो साइक्लिकल है, वो साइक्लिकल नहीं है, व्हाट आर द रिटर्न्स ऑन द बिजनेस. And the best way to do is to compare all these with similar businesses. The cash flows also, the ROCs also, you compare them with similar businesses. Now, another thing which is important in the internal aspect is the management of the business. So management should have integrity, business sense, growth mindset. ऐसी कंपनीज को आप कोई भी प्राइस पे खरीदो. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर मैनेजमेंट इंपॉर्टेंट है, व्हाट आर द काइंड ऑफ एलोकेशंस दे आर मेकिंग, व्हाट आर द काइंड ऑफ डिसीजंस दैट दे आर मेकिंग, दिस इज व्हाट डिसाइड्स अ गुड मैनेजमेंट. डाउन साइकिल में जो अच्छा करता है, मतलब जो खराब टाइम पे अच्छा करने वाला मैनेजमेंट है, दैट मैनेजमेंट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड वेरी गुड. सो अच्छे अच्छे टाइम में तो सभी अच्छा कर लेते हैं, बट खराब टाइम पे कौन करता है? लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल आई एम टेलिंग यू, जैसे कोविड के टाइम पे तनिष्क ओपनड मोर स्टोर्स. Now that requires a different set of mindset altogether to do something like that. Even I didn't know कि COVID के time पे क्या होगा. Anyways, it could have played any side, but this is a sign of a good management. Now, some of the points I'm going to leave you with before I move to the next part is कि management में, if you don't know the management, please stay away from that company. Keep a track about it, revisit it later. But what you have to know about the management is you have to know the intent. What is the intent of the management? Management karna kya chahta hai? Do they want to make a business for the children? Are they chasing a market cap? Are they attracting a good talent? Is good capital allocation undertaken or not? And lastly, you have to understand, are they creating value? Are they scaling? What is their execution style? And lastly, if it is creating a cost leadership in business. अभी I understand this is a lot. ये बहुत सारी चीजें हैं. There are a lot of things. So इसको simple करने के लिए I have got an example. This example I will give you, which will make all these points also easier. Also, what I'm going to speak about, eventually, it will make that also simple. So this example is from a very interesting speech that Ramesh Damani ji had introduced us to, and this speech is by Mr. Monish Pobroy, where he speaks about how Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger identified and invested into Coca-Cola. If you've not heard it, I will request everybody over here who's listening to please hear it. It is there on YouTube. It's a beautiful here. And so, yeah, and it sums up exactly what we have discussed about understanding the company. Now, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger invested $1.3 billion in Coke. That was approximately one fourth of the book value of Berkshire Hathaway at that particular time. Indeed, Coke that time when they invested was 25 times trailing earnings. So it was not even cheap. It was expensive. बट ये इन्वेस्टमेंट करने के लिए कोई स्प्रेडशीट नहीं थी, कोई डीसीएफ नहीं था, देयर वाज नो एनालिस्ट, देयर वाज नो नोट्स. Everything was done by reading annual reports, and after that they did maths in their head. But just for your information and a little out of topic, sorry I'm diverting, I heard a similar story of how the idea of Geo was first thought by writing it down on a tissue paper by Mr. Mukesh Ambani, and he explained how data is going to be the next oil. Again, there was no spreadsheet, no report. So all these big ideas come out like this, is what I was trying to say. Anyways, coming back to our Coke. So in the speech, Monish talks about the brand. Ki, what is the brand of Coke? Abhi Warren and Charlie के पास एक कंपनी था by the name of Seas Candy. Now Seas Candy का there is one of the best thing by the name of peanut brittle, and mostly आपको Seas Candy is famous only in California. But outside California, the only people who buy these are some people maybe like you and me, जो Warren Buffett के fans हैं and want to see, what Seas Candy is all about. So Seas Candy खोलने में, उसका सक्सेस होने में, there is a doubt. But Coke के लिए there was never a doubt. कोक के लिए एडवर्टाइजिंग में नहीं था, उसके बाद भी कोक बिकेगा. सो अगर, बिकॉज एवरीबडी नोज द ब्रांड, और आप जितना कोक पियो आपकी प्यास नहीं बुझती है, आप बल्कि और कोक मांगोगे. तो बेसिकली आप मार्जिनल प्रोपेंसिटी कंज्यूम इज ऑल्सो मोर ओवर देयर. सो नाउ द पॉइंट वॉज, इफ यू ओपन अ कोक स्टोर एनीवेयर, कोक विल स्टिल सेल. एंड ये आपको कैसे पता चलता था? क्योंकि केसेस ऑफ कोक हर साल बढ़ रहे थे, चाहे वो वॉर हो या रिसेशन हो, हर साल कोक बढ़ रहा था. सो व्हाट डज दिस रिलेट टू? इससे अपने जो बात किए थे, दैट आपको अंडरस्टैंड करना है कि बिजनेस का मार्केट साइज क्या है. इट हैज टू बी अ फिश इन द ओशन. तो ये ओशन है, इट इज अ बिग ओशन. हाउ डू वी कम टू दैट कंक्लूजन? एवरी ह्यूमन, हम सब ह्यूमंस को 2-2.5 लीटर्स पानी एवरी डे पीना जरूरी है टू सर्वाइव. अभी उसमें से 50% हम बोलते हैं हम फ्लेवर्ड ड्रिंक्स पिएंगे. चार्ली मंजर और वॉरेन बफेट ने बोला कि वो जो 1 लीटर है, मैं बोलता हूं उसका 50% मार्केट शेयर गोज टू कोक. वो लोग कोक में वो लोग कोक पीते हैं 50 ml. तो दैट इज इक्वल टू 2 बॉटल. अगर आप सिंगल बॉटल पकड़ो कोका, इट्स अ 250 ml का बॉटल. सो समझिए हम लोग वो करते हैं. तब आप समझो 7.5 billion का पॉपुलेशन या 8 billion का पॉपुलेशन, एंड इफ दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ प्रोपेंसिटी दैट वी हैव, दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ कंजम्पशन, आप इमेजिन कर सकते हो व्हाट इज द काइंड ऑफ अ मार्केट दैट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. इट्स अ ह्यूज मार्केट दैट वी आर स्पीकिंग अबाउट. तो ये आइडेंटिफाई हो गया. नाउ सेकेंडली, वॉरेन बफेट एंड चार्ली मंजर परचेज कोक फॉर 7 years. मतलब कंटिन्यूसली उन्होंने 7 साल तक, इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ द प्राइस ऑफ कोक, दे बॉट इट फ्रॉम द मार्केट्स. नाउ दिस इज समथिंग सिमिलर टू व्हाट राकेश झुंझुनवाला डिड विद टाइटन. उन्होंने टाइटन खरीदा था 30 रुपए में, 30 रुपीज में उन्होंने टाइटन फर्स्ट टाइम खरीदा. बट उसके बाद राकेश झुंझुनवाला जी ने ये टाइटन खरीदा हर एक लेवल पे, एंड ही इवन बॉट टाइटन एट 900 rupees. So if you understand, you're buying your own share at 30 times the price at which you first identified it. This is the level of conviction I request all of you to have in yourself, not to sell a stock early जिसमें आपका conviction है, and ride करो उस wave को. Then the maths will add up. You buy at any level. Only sell अगर आपको लगे आपका thesis wrong हो गया, जिस reason से आपने invest किया था वो गलत है, सिर्फ तभी बेचें. Otherwise, this is exactly how wealth is being created. Now, Coca-Cola ka, you have to understand the business as we had discussed. तो व्हाट डू वी अंडरस्टैंड बाय द बिजनेस? अंडरस्टैंडिंग द बिजनेस मींस वो लोग जीरो केपेक्स कर, जीरो नहीं, वो लोग बहुत कम केपेक्स करते हैं, ऑलमोस्ट ना बराबर केपेक्स करते हैं। कोको कोला बेचता क्या है? कोको कोला सिर्फ कोको कोला का कॉन्सेंट्रेट बेचता है। किसको? बॉटलर्स को। जो बॉटलिंग कर रहे हैं उनको सिर्फ वो कॉन्सेंट्रेट बेच रहा है। अब वो बॉटलर सब देखता है, वो कैंस परचेज करता है, बॉटल परचेज करता है, रिटेलर्स को जाके बेचता है, होटल्स वाले को, रेस्टोरेंट्स वाले को, मैकडोनल्ड्स, बर्गर किंग, जो जो आपके हैं सबको बेचने का। सो उनकी लॉजिस्टिक की कॉस्ट हुई, ड्राइवर्स की कॉस्ट हुई, आप बता लो, सारी कॉस्ट इज विद द बॉटलर। यू विल नॉट बिलीव बट इवन द कॉस्ट ऑफ कॉन्सेंट्रेट के अंदर शुगर और वाटर ऐड करने का कॉस्ट इज ऑल्सो विथ द सेम बॉटलर्स ओनली। सो नाउ यू कैन इमेजिन दैट जब आप 20 रुपीज का बॉटल खरीदते हो कोक का, उसमें से 5 रुपीज इज फॉर द कॉन्सेंट्रेट जो कोको कोला को मिलता है, बाकी 15 इज शेयर्ड विद द आउटलेट वाला गाइज एंड द बॉटलर्स। सो दिस इज हाउ द मॉडल इज क्रिएटेड। Now, if you imagine, if I mean 5 rupees के अंदर whatever is remaining, they only spend that 5 rupees. उसमें उनका advertising cost भी नहीं है. The advertising is also less than 10% of revenues, which is the normal, industry norm. So this is the reason Coke makes 30% as EBITDA. That is the kind of margins that Coke makes after making 5 rupees ka drink. Now you imagine if you're buying it at a restaurant where they are charging you maybe 150, 200 rupees for the same size, आपका वो same bottle के size का serving आपको मिलता है, they are charging you 150, 200 rupees. Imagine उनका margins कितना ज्यादा होगा. तो as a result, Coke is happy. Coke के जो retailers है, bottlers है, everybody is happy, everybody is making money. Now because the margins are so small, कोई दूसरा प्लेयर भी इसके अंदर नहीं आएगा. I mean, of course, this Pepsi and being an Indian, I want Campa Cola भी कभी आए, I would look forward to it. But because the margins are very small, आपका रनवे और बर्न रेट इतना स्ट्रांग होना चाहिए, मतलब योर रनवे हैज टू बी सो स्ट्रांग दैट यू आर एबल टू सस्टेन टिल द टाइम यू अचीव दैट काइंड ऑफ अ वॉल्यूम, कि आप उस टाइप का वॉल्यूम कर सको कोक जितना, टू सस्टेन दिस थिंग विच इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर एनी बिजनेसेस टू एंटर इनटू न्यू. So now you imagine that everything fit well. This is how they understood the business. This is what the unit economics I was talking about. This is exactly what I was saying. You have to understand the company well. Now comes the part of the management. Now the point was, उन्होंने कोक में इन्वेस्टमेंट किया, वॉरेन बफेट ने कोक में इन्वेस्टमेंट किया इन 1988. ऐसा क्या चेंज हुआ जो 100 साल की कंपनी थी कोक, कोक वाज एक्टिव फॉर 100 years, बट 100 साल के बाद कोक में क्यों इन्वेस्ट किया? द रीजन वॉज बिकॉज 1981 के आसपास में उनका मैनेजमेंट चेंज हुआ. अभी नए मैनेजमेंट ने क्या बोला कि हम लोग 1988 से उन्होंने डिसाइड किया कि हम पुराने सारे बिजनेसेस बंद कर देंगे जो अनरिलेटेड है, एंड हम लोग सिर्फ कोक एंड बेवरेजेस में फोकस करेंगे. अब उन्होंने सारे जो अनरिलेटेड बिजनेसेस बेचे, उसमें जो उनको सरप्लस कैश फ्लो आया, दे स्टार्टेड बायबैक्स एंड दे स्टार्टेड गिविंग आउट डिविडेंड्स, और वो डिविडेंड्स उन्होंने हर साल दिए. Now, this is the magic of investing for long term. आज के दिन, if you go to see to it, Berkshire Hathaway को 700 मिलियन का डिविडेंड मिलता है, $700 million का सिर्फ डिविडेंड मिलता है from an investment of 1.3 billion. That is more than 50% is their dividend yield. अब आप सोचो कि what is the kind of a reinvestment risk that they face if they have to sell a company like Coke. They can't sell it. ऐसी कौन सी कंपनी होगी जिसमें डिविडेंड यील्ड उनको इतना मिलेगा? And talking about the value of their investment, $1.3 billion का investment today is worth 23 billion. It is up 23 times. So it is a no-brainer for them. So this is the reason मैंने बोला कि it is very important कि आप business समझिए, आप समझिए what is the DNA, the unit economics is very important. अगर आपको ये basic समझ में आ गया, you can find companies without doing anything beyond this thing. There was another example of Ramesh Damani ji. He had got United Spirits, and United Spirits was a 50-year-old company. मतलब विठल माल्या जी ने उनको खरीदा था 1947 में, ब्रूरीज को, sorry, not this one, but group company. And United Spirits was worth 200 crore. तो दमानी जी ने क्या बोला कि अगर मैं इसका 10% खरीद लेता हूं, इट विल बी वर्थ 20 करोड़. 20 करोड़ में साउथ मुंबई में आपको घर नहीं मिलता, मैं 10% ऑफ द कंपनी खरीद रहा हूं, मतलब हर 10 बॉटल में एक बियर की बॉटल मेरी हो जाती है. दैट इज द काइंड ऑफ मनी दैट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. We are a 1.4 billion dollar people, out of which 1 or 2 crore people, they come under the age of 21 and they become eligible for drinking. So you imagine, and that time, drinking in front of your parents, वो taboo भी जा रहा था धीरे धीरे, that was also going away, so people were getting more open to drinking. तो उन्होंने ये बताया कि यार मेरे को इसमें हारने के लिए क्या है, अगर मैं गलत भी हो गया तो इसमें मैं कितना हार जाऊंगा, हाउ मच विल बी माई लॉस. So this is how a simple logic was given to just make a simple investment into a company. So I would request कि सब लोग understand the business, spend some time doing it. Now, one of the factors, the second factors, as I said, कि understanding business में there are two governing factors, internal and external. जो external factor है, let's come to that. That is things like monsoon, inflation, interest rates, and whatever is happening in the world, positive, negative. Now the point is, these things are not in the hands of the company, but they affect your company. तो आपको ये पता करना और ये आपकी बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग बहुत जरूरत है. नाउ वन ऑफ द थिंग्स इन दिस, इसमें ना आप एक वो डोमिनो जैसे खेल सकते हो कि ये होगा तो वो होगा, ये होगा तो ये होगा. आई विल गिव यू एन एग्जांपल. फॉर एग्जांपल, अगर हाई इंटरेस्ट रेट्स होता है तो बॉन्ड्स अट्रैक्टिव हो जाती हैं. अगर आपकी इकोनॉमी स्ट्रांग है तो वो आरबीआई आपके रेट्स हाई कर देंगी. अगर हाई रेट्स, ये सॉरी, इंटरेस्ट रेट्स हाई होते हैं क्योंकि आपका वेजेस होता है, हायर वेजेस होते हैं. इफ योर इंटरेस्ट रेट्स आर हाई और आपके पास कैश पड़ा है तो आप उसको बैंक में डालोगे तो वो आपके लिए अच्छा है. सो ऑल दीज थिंग्स यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि एक के बाद एक कैसे आता है. लेट मी पुट इट अप इन अनदर वर्ड, टू मेक इट इजियर. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आज के टाइम पे न्यूज आ रही है कि ऑयल प्राइसेस आर गोइंग अप. Now, if oil prices goes up, inflation will go up. If inflation will go up, banks will increase rates. If banks increase rates, borrowing will go down. If borrowing goes down, liquidity will reduce. Liquidity will reduce, bank results might get affected. So this is how you can come to how exactly it is going to affect your company. And if you go further down, आप इसको दूसरे sectors पे भी impact दे सकते हो कि इसमें दूसरे sectors पे क्या impact आएगा by playing around with all these factors, the external factors. So this is why your external businesses are very important. Now we come to the part where you understand the risk. We've noted down every single thing कि in risk, what are the factors जिसकी वजह से मैं गलत हो सकता हूँ. ऐसी क्या क्या चीजें हैं जो जिसके अंदर आई विल लूज मनी, एंड इफ आई लूज मनी हाउ मच आई कैन लूज. दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इसके लिए आपको रिस्क पता होना बहुत जरूरी है. नाउ रिस्क, there are three different types. One is there are three factors. One is the known knowns. So basically क्या होता है, जो आपको पता है और वो जो सबको पता है, this is your known knowns. वो सारी चीजें मार्केट प्राइस में ऑलरेडी क्या बोलते हैं, वो ऑलरेडी है उसमें, इट्स ऑलरेडी प्राइस्ड इन. तो दिस इज नेवर गोइंग टू बेनिफिट यू. अगर किसी ने आपको बोला कि यार ये वाला शेयर ले लो, देखो इसके अंदर ये वाला न्यूज आया हुआ है, जो न्यूज आप पढ़ रहे हो वही न्यूज मैं पढ़ रहा हूँ, वही न्यूज कोई और पढ़ रहा है, तो उसमें नन ऑफ अस आर गोइंग टू मेक अ लॉट ऑफ मनी. बट देयर इज अनदर फैक्टर विच इज कॉल्ड नोन अननोन्स. ये जो नोन अननोन्स होता है, दीज आर लाइक फाइनेंशियल शिनैनिगन्स. आप समझो कि नंबर सही है या नहीं है, मैनेजमेंट जो गाइडेंस दिया है वो गाइडेंस अचीव कर पाएगा या नहीं कर पाएगा, इसके जो नंबर्स है इसकी यूनिट इकोनॉमिक्स के साथ मैच कर रही है या नहीं कर रही है, इसके जो नंबर्स है ये रिलायबल है या नहीं है. सो ऑल दीज थिंग्स, दीज आर नोन अननोन्स, जो आपको पता है कि आपको नहीं पता है. दिस इज व्हाट बेसिकली इट मींस. नाउ आउट ऑफ 100 पीपल who do known knowns, maybe 50 people will do known unknowns. But out of 100, maybe 10 or 15 people will do unknown unknowns. मतलब जो आपको भी नहीं पता, जो आपको नहीं पता basically. So this is the most difficult. और अगर आपने ये identify कर दिया ना, that is where your biggest story and your best story lies. So ये पता करना is the most important thing and the most difficult part. And I assume आप लोग सब यहां पे फोकस करें, हाउ टू फिगर आउट व्हाट योर अननोन अननोन्स आर. सो अननोन अननोन्स में ये पता करना दैट इफ यू गो रॉन्ग, हाउ रॉन्ग कैन यू गो. लेट मी पुट दिस होल थिंग अप इन अ स्टोरी. नाउ दिस इज अ स्टोरी अबाउट अ कंपनी बाय द नेम ऑफ पटेल इंजीनियरिंग. नाउ गवर्नमेंट वाज डूइंग अ ह्यूज स्पेंडिंग इन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. गवर्नमेंट ने बोला कि कुछ 111 लाख करोड़ का हम इंफ्रा प्रोजेक्ट्स लेकर आएंगे. दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट हाइड्रो प्रोजेक्ट्स, दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इरिगेशन एक्सेट्रा. And Patel Engineering was doing some projects in some crazy places, and it was covered by National Geographic as well. Now, मेरे को ज्यादा कंपनीज का नाम नहीं पता जो ये सेम काम कर रही थी. 2 कंपनीज अनलिस्टेड में थी एंड लिस्टेड में ये था या फिर एल था. एल was too big for me to understand. And this company was a 2,500 crore company, so it caught the eye. Now it had fallen down. The prices of this stock had fallen down because of some management related issues. The prices fell down from I think 27 something to 15 rupees. And the rights issue उन्होंने उस टाइम पे किया था at 12 rupees पे rights issue आया था. They had just announced it. Now one of the factors was मैंने सोचा कि जितना भी मैनेजमेंट का जो बैड न्यूज था that should be factored in into the price. अगर नहीं भी है तो मैं बोलता हूँ उसका 50% तो भाई कवर हो गया by markets. जो भी fall आया it was covered in that particular thing. Now, if you see the economics of the company, 2,500 crore की कंपनी है, 1,000 crore का लैंड बैंक है, आर्बिट्रेशनल ऑर्डर्स मिलने वाले हैं और बैंक उनको क्रेडिट अमाउंट दे रही है. 18,000 करोड़ का ऑर्डर बुक है, 10% का मार्जिन है एंड 4,000 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू वो ऑलरेडी कर रही थी एंड दे वर गाइडिंग फॉर अ 20% ग्रोथ ऑनलाइन ऑन टीवी. So what I'm trying to say is most of the companies, if you see many infra companies, आपको समझ में आएगा कि सब इंफ्रा कंपनीज का यही हाल था, मोटा मोटी यही हाल था. 2003 and 2004, if you see that bull run, उस रन में ये सब जो PSU कंपनीज थी वो सब इंजीनियरिंग, कंस्ट्रक्शन, इंफ्रा, these people they moved from 2003 to 2008. बट 2008 के बाद ये कोई भी कंपनीज मूव नहीं की. दे नेवर गेव एनी रिटर्न, कहीं मूवमेंट नहीं दिया. सो व्हेन दे स्टार्ट मूविंग, व्हेन सच कंपनीज स्टार्ट मूविंग, दे हैव अ डेकेड काइंड ऑफ अ थीम. उनका थीम छोटा नहीं होता, उनका जो प्ले होता है वो लंबा फिनोमिनल बुल रन देते हैं वो लोग. दे डोंट गिव अ स्मॉल बुल रन. And this is what I was thinking I would get into. And since every other company also had a similar DNA, according to my risk appetite, whatever you could think of, that was the part that I thought I would buy the company, or whatever I would invest, whatever little I could. So this was the part. But of course, it could have gone either ways. If I was wrong, I could have gone either ways. My allocation decides how much money I made or if I lose, which we'll talk about later. So this was the risk I played. This was the risk that I took. The risk was that the unknown unknowns was कि maybe the management में there must be some issue, but I still covered it by saying that some part of it is already priced in. Now, which are the unknown unknowns that इसके आगे में भी हो सकता है I could have lost more money. There could have been more surprises, but I figured out that more surprises should be done क्योंकि वो 400 रुपए का प्राइस था, 15 हो गया था. So anyways, but still, God was by my side. Luck also played a lot, big part. मेरा एक दोस्त है जो हमेशा मेरे को बोलता है कि ऐसा तूने किया नहीं है, ऐसा तेरे साथ हुआ है. तो ऐसा मेरे साथ हुआ है. So this happened with me. Now, one of the ways you can find out such kind of risk is by doing scuttlebutt. अब एनालिस्ट लोग से बात करिए, एम्प्लॉइज, एक्स एम्प्लॉइज के साथ बात करें, बैंकर्स, डीलर्स, you see them from different point of view, you see the business from different point of view, and then you decide and take your own decision. You have to validate आपने जिस रीजन से एक कंपनी को चूज किया है, उसमें इन्वेस्ट किया है या करने वाले हो, यू हैव टू टेस्ट इट रेगुलरली. यू कांट डू इट वंस एंड लेट इट बी. यू हैव टू टेस्ट इट रेगुलरली बिकॉज यू विल नेवर नो कि कौन सा डायनामिक कब चेंज होता है. तो प्लीज मेक श्योर ऑफ दैट. नाउ वन पार्ट दैट वी वांट टू कम टू इज वैल्यूएशन. ना एवरीथिंग हैज अ वैल्यू. एक 10 रुपए के नोट में भी वैल्यू है, मगर आप उसके लिए मे बी आप बोलोगे कि मेरे को 10 रुपए के नोट के लिए 5 रुपीज देना है, मेरे को 10 रुपए नहीं देने हैं उसके लिए. दैट इज वैलिड, वो सही बात है. आपको प्राइस पता है 10 रुपीज, बट यू नॉट विलिंग टू पे दैट प्राइस फॉर इट. दिस इज द सेम थिंग दैट यू हैव टू फाइंड व्हेन यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन अ स्टॉक. आपको उसमें वैल्यू गैप ढूंढना है, एंड दैट वैल्यू गैप इज कॉल्ड द मार्जिन ऑफ सेफ्टी. You have to know your business model and you have to come to a value accordingly. जो मैंने आपको बोला, वैल्यूएशन क्या होता है ना, वैल्यूएशन इज अ पार्ट ऑफ ओनली टू फैक्टर्स. वैल्यूएशन में एक पार्ट होता है आपका बिजनेस और दूसरा पार्ट होता है आपका ग्रोथ. इफ योर बिजनेस मॉडल इज वेरी गुड, दैट इज व्हाट मैटर्स. सेकंड, आपको ग्रोथ क्या दे रहा है, दैट इज व्हाट मैटर्स. ऑन दीज टू फंडास यू इन्वेस्ट इनटू अ कंपनी एज पर द वैल्यूएशन दैट इज सुटेबल टू यू. अभी वैल्यूएशन वर्क्स वेरी डिफरेंटली, स्पेशली फॉर अ ब्रांड कंपनी. अभी एक जैसे मैंने आपको नॉट कोक बट से शू कंपनी है, इफ देयर इज अ शू इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू, अगर वो शू के ऊपर नाइकी लिखा है या कुछ और लिखा हुआ है, द प्राइस ऑफ द शू विल बी डिफरेंट. तो द वैल्यू इज इन द पावर ऑफ द ब्रांड. So we have to look, we can't look at a cost structure of such company. You have to look at the brand of such company. So because irrespective of the price, the product will sell of such companies. So please understand these things, understand the valuation, और फिर उसके हिसाब से अपने investment बनाए. Make sure that when you're investing, if you buy at a if you buy at a wrong valuation, please understand what happens. अगर आपने Infosys में invest किया होता, even at a lower valuation, समझिए Infosys में अगर आपने 2000 में invest किया होता, even at a low valuation, for 10 years Infosys का prices भागा नहीं. So for 10 years you would have made no money at all. So this is the problem that happens even if you buy a cheap company. So though I say PE is not a bad way of looking at valuation, but not the only way, only thing that you should focus on when you're discussing valuations. Valuations के लिए there are two things I can suggest. You know what we can do. One is what I do is a replacement method. कि अगर समझिए ये कंपनी की जगह आपको सिमिलर कंपनी बैठानी पड़ी तो क्या होगा. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आपको पता है पावर के लिए पर मेगावाट यू नीड 4 to 6 crore ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट. तो इट गिव्स यू एन आइडिया एज टू इसका रिप्लेसमेंट वैल्यू क्या रहेगा. The Adani ka deal, if you know, the Ambuja and ACC wala, it was done at 190 and 117 per metric ton. So आप उसमें पता कर सकते हो कि what can be a valuation for a cement company up and down. मतलब you know तो एक estimate लगा सकते हो. Telecom towers, हर एक टावर होता है उसका estimated price is maybe 80 lakhs rupees depending on the location. So you can understand how much is a telecom tower. So accordingly you can have a replacement cost. Now, just an example, there was a company by the name of Newland Labs. Newland Labs ka prices had started falling drastically, or uska unit 3 was supposed to come up. Now the point is, I think the market cap had become around 300 or 350 crore ka market cap ho gaya tha. And if you see the company's factories, you realize कि 300 करोड़ की फैक्ट्री ऐसी नहीं होती है. It is at least worth more, you know, at least 800,000 crore की फैक्ट्री होगी वो. Just an estimate. So now the point is, it was a replacement value. So then you don't have to lose much. So the replacement value can sometimes help you come up to a certain valuation. Not accurate, but around about. And second part to do a valuation that you can do is by comparing it with another company in the similar field by doing relative multiples using them. So for example, किसी ने मेरे को बताया था कि if you want to look at insurance companies, the metric to use is 2 or 2.5 times embedded value. So you know you can use कि अगर ये same में बैठता है या नहीं बैठता है. Let me put this one as an example. There was a company by the name of Majesco जिसने अपना एक टेक्नोलॉजी का आर्म था जो एक अमेरिकन कंपनी को बेचा at 5 times EBITDA. Now in India there was another company that was trading at 1 times EBITDA. So now you see this company, this Indian company grew 5 times in a month. The point was that sometimes these things also work. You never know how. There was a company by the name of TCPL, and there was a startup, and startup mein they were talking about how primary, secondary, tertiary mein only two companies were present, which is one is TCPL and the other one is Parsons. Parsons is not listed, TCPL is listed. Only TCPL and Parsons were profitable. Every other company was making losses, including the startup jiska call chal raha tha. The startup said that we are offering you the shares at 2 times our sales, and we are a loss-making company and we deal only in primary. Now TCPL was trading at 0.5 times market cap to sales. It's a profitable company, dividend paying company, old company, and it has big clients. So now again, you don't need Excel sheets, a DCF method to value such companies. It was a simple comparison with another company and understand the places how much can you go wrong if you go wrong. So I hope I have covered the part of valuation. The next part, only last three things that I want to cover is one is allocation. Please make sure that your allocation, if you have conviction, go with truckloads of money and invest into a particular share. अच्छे शेयर में अगर आपने कम पैसा बनाया और खराब शेयर में अगर आपने ज्यादा पैसा खोया, that is very bad. So which is the reason you have to understand your allocation and how to cut your losses in case if you understand your thesis is wrong. Coming to your thesis is wrong, it is very important to know when do you want to sell a particular share or when do you want to exit. Now when you exit, like I would basically exit if I realize that I have gone wrong with my thesis. I would sell no matter what the price. They say that invest in a sunrise sector at any price, exit a sunset sector at any price. If I know that it is a company which is in a sector which is no longer going to be good, I will exit that company. That is the second reason why I will exit. Now, another thing is, if the market dynamics change, that will also affect. Like for example, COVID हो गया, war हो गया, गवर्नमेंट का कोई रेगुलेशन आ गया, जैसे क्रिप्टो में समझिए उन्होंने बैन लगा दिया, बोली कि आज से ये चीज बैन है, देन समथिंग हैपेंस. सो अगर मार्केट डायनामिक चेंज हुआ, देन आपका थीसिस जो है इट इज नॉट वैलिड एनी मोर. दिस इज द रीजन यू हैव टू इवेल्युएट योर हाइपोथेसिस एवरी टाइम, क्योंकि आपको मालूम नहीं है कि कब मार्केट डायनामिक चेंज हो जाएगा. एंड लास्ट आई विल सेल is if the management focus changes. So there was a company by the name of Venky's. Venky's ने एक football company buy की थी, which was not related to the business. So even though the business might of Venky's might be good and it would have made money, but it was not for me. I was not very confident about it. तो मैंने उसको फिर select नहीं किया for investment. That was my personal reason. So this is what I thought I would mention. And the last thing I want to talk about are cycles. एवरीथिंग आपने इन्वेस्टमेंट सब सही किया, बट यू हैव टू नो कि आप साइकिल में कहां खड़े हो. यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड वेदर इट इज अ बुल साइकिल और अ बेयर साइकिल. यस, इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू प्रिडिक्ट एक्यूरेटली, but like just a basic what I could understand is, in a bear market, the whole market is down, every single sector is underperforming, and this is the time there is a possibility that you will get a good investment. यही टाइम होता है. इस टाइम पे बेयर मार्केट में, अभी ये बेयर मार्केट चेंज कैसे होता है आप ये समझिए. जब बेयर मार्केट होगा तो गवर्नमेंट आपके इंटरेस्ट रेट्स है जो वो कट करेगा, क्योंकि आपकी ग्रोथ बढ़े. अगर वो ये करेगा तो आपकी लिक्विडिटी बढ़ेगी. जब लिक्विडिटी बढ़ेगी तो लोग उसमें कंज्यूम करेंगे, लोग बाइंग ज्यादा चालू करेंगे, डिमांड बढ़ेगी. इट विल गिव मनी टू द कंपनीज टू एक्सपैंड, दे विल इंक्रीज देयर मार्केटिंग. अभी ये सारी चीजें होती हैं तो योर डिमांड्स विल इंक्रीज, कंपनी विल स्टार्ट मेकिंग प्रॉफिट्स, इन्वेस्टमेंट विल स्टार्ट पोरिंग इनटू कंपनीज. अब ये रीजन से बुल मार्केट आता है. दिस इज द रीजन व्हाई द बुल मार्केट कम्स, बिकॉज your product, your services की prices have started going up, your profitability has increased, all the companies have gone into expansion, all every single company is financially deleveraging कर रही है, जैसे अभी स्टील में चल रहा है, whatever. And then demand matches with the supply. And finally, you have to understand what is going on. Finally, जब bull run होता है, the bull run में you will always see that expansion is at such a stage जहां पर supply demand से भी ज्यादा हो जाता है. People in stock markets are buying every type of stock. आप बोलोगे कि यार मेरा ये वाला स्टॉक मिस हो गया, मैं इसका अलाइड वाला बाय कर लेता हूं, मैं ये प्रॉक्सी प्ले कर लेता हूं, आई विल बाय द रिलेटेड कंपनी, आई विल बाय एन इंटीग्रेटेड सेक्टर. So basically, every single sector is outperforming in the stock market when it is a bull run. और ये होने के बाद साइकिल रिवर्स करता है. Now you have to understand that all these things are true कि ऐसा होता है, but the cycle can extend. मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि once this happens, tomorrow the stock market will reverse. It might take a while longer. So you have to play this particular part very cautiously and understand your allocations, your new investments that you are supposed to make. So now these are the points as to how I invest into the stock market. This is how it sums up कि मैं stock markets में investments कैसे करता हूँ. Now coming up, I just thought कि I'll just give you a little brief, post all these things, just a little brief about the sectors that I am focusing on, what I feel about the markets. See, in the markets right now, if you see, mostly I operate in small and mid caps. These are the riskier parts of the market. I don't normally look at large caps, but before this rally started, we saw a little bit of underperformance in the smaller stocks. Underperformance था, इसीलिए मेरे को उस time पे even you would be getting good deals at that particular time. There was a lot of participation in the markets. बहुत सारी participation आई. There was a lot of optimism. बहुत सारी news आई about smaller companies कि smaller companies ये कर रही हैं, वो companies ये कर रही हैं. As a result, what happened? That smaller stocks and mid-cap stocks started growing. And today we are at a price that they have grown so high. I feel personally that the larger stocks are much better valued than these particular stocks. So I think going forward, there is a possibility that the larger companies might play much better than the smaller companies. Again, it's just an estimate. It can go totally wrong. So yeah, that's just a personal thought. Now, Again, in a vibrant market like these, just don't buy into every single share that you think that you can buy. If you're buying a company which is at a 50p, 100p, but if it does not have a very good growth story, तो जैसे मैंने बताया था कि valuation is बिजनेस एंड ग्रोथ. अगर इस कंपनी में ग्रोथ नहीं है और वो 50 टाइम्स मल्टीपल, 100 टाइम्स मल्टीपल पे अगर आपको मिल रहा है, तो you will not see these kind of prices in the next 3 to 4 years. You have to understand that, and as a result, your portfolio would suffer. So you have to be careful, and also if you're investing into a markets like today, please be prepared to lose 10%. What 10-15% ka movement will be very normal to see either ways. And if you are fine with those kind of things, then today ka markets are for you. A couple of sectors I want to come to, which I'm tracking right now. Now, one of the sectors that I'm tracking right now is automobiles, because I'm working also in an automobile company right now. Now, automobile is a good sector. Everybody's talking about EV today. We all understand that part. I am basically a part of a three-wheeler industry, in the three-wheeler industry. Now, today, there are 7 lakh three-wheelers on the road. The government is pushing to make everything EVs. Smart cities are hain. They are providing you with a lot of subsidies, incentives. There is so much happening in this space. Last mile mobility aane wala hai. There is connectivity which is coming. So many roads, so many seas, coastal lines are being linked. आपको there's going to be a lot of demand coming in. जब e-commerce are coming up, so ये सबका बहुत demand आएगा where you need an EV. Now, for me, the particular EV makes a lot of sense for a commercial vehicle. Why? क्योंकि उनका running बहुत ज़्यादा है. They have a lot of running, and most of these commercial vehicles, they also run in a fixed route. Now, as of the reason that they run on a fixed route, as a result of that, if you want to set up swapping station, then also it will make sense. Otherwise, आपको 5 किलोमीटर या 10 किलोमीटर जाना पड़ेगा सिर्फ स्वैप करने के लिए, आपकी बैटरीज के लिए. तो आपका 10 किलोमीटर तो वहीं पे वेस्ट हो गया. And as you know, I'm sure everybody understands that today EV is a factor of three things. तीन चीजें हैं. एक आपका range anxiety, एक आपकी battery charging, and last thing is your cost. These are the main factors why your EV is selling. So all these three factors for me make sense only for a commercial vehicle. कि commercial vehicle would make a lot of sense because उनकी running इतनी, they will be able to make use of the price of electricity and would benefit out of it. But there's a lot of R&D happening. Please understand, there is so much of R&D happening with the new models coming up. We are talking about new chemistries कि NMC की बैटरी है या LFP की बैटरी है. We are talking about new batteries. We are talking about hydrogen solutions. Within the batteries, we are talking about swapping of batteries. We are talking about leasing of vehicles. We are talking about retrofit solutions. These are big things. These इसमें जो economics बैठेगा, understand how they would work. If I'm talking about if I ask somebody that you take the vehicle for free and you only pay for the electricity in which you charge, or you only pay for the number of swaps that you do, that is a big statement to make. So I'm not saying that this is what is going to happen, but I'm saying that the economics can be dynamic in this particular sector. It is definitely a space to watch out. Um, I am biased because I'm in the sector, but I also want to tell you that even though the sector looks very good today, if I see the valuations on a personal level, I feel the valuations of all these companies are stretched. You have to understand again how much do they deliver right now. इतना उनमें price jump आया हुआ है in every single company, including Lotto. इतना jump आया हुआ है that these companies are expensive today. So we have to understand, we have to track how are they performing. हर first को उनके results आते हैं कि इन्होंने कितने vehicles बेचे. See if the growth is being delivered. Only then go for such companies at these kind of valuations. Otherwise, look for some other companies. जैसे मैंने बताया, allied companies ही देख लीजिए. Power देख लीजिए कि how Power is doing, or some other company or something like that. But avoid taking a decision. Otherwise, you will be stuck with those kind of companies, those kind of valuations for a little longer period of time. And as a result, it might affect आपका opportunity cost खराब होता है. That is the only thing. So that was about one. Second part that I was focusing on was railways and infra projects. Not basically railways, but infra is my thing. But railways, I've also wanted to speak about a little bit. Government is right now taking a front foot. in making India the biggest companies for all these things. वो लोग बड़े spendings कर रहे हैं for railways. They are making corridors India to Europe via Middle East. All these things. ये सब इतना सारा that they are going to do. All these things is going to bring in a lot of optimism right now for railways, for infrastructure. Yes, I feel that they are going to grow in a very big way going forward, which is one of the reasons I feel that these companies should do well. But again, please understand about these companies that ये दोनों companies में ना एक चीज है कि uh, इनका जो gestation period है that is 5 years. इनकी जो projects complete होती हैं they get completed in 5 years of time. So you should be able to hold these kind of companies for 5 years. अगर आप 5 साल इनको नहीं होल्ड कर पाओगे तो कोई पॉसिबिलिटी नहीं है. पटेल इंजीनियरिंग वाज सेइंग कि उनको प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट करने में 3 साल लगेंगे. So that is going to be one of the things. Again, something related to them is capital goods. Capital goods में Elecon के अंदर Elecon was saying that for them to finish one Navy order, it takes them 3 to 4 years to complete those orders. So these are all big projects. These are all high gestation time. But कभी कभी क्या होता है, that is the reason अगर आप उसको high P पे buy करते हो, you might have to wait it out. There is no other way. And capital goods and all these kind of sectors, they are doing well. इसका मतलब है that investment, you can measure the health of the investment cycle in India. कैपिटल गुड्स बताता है आपको कि ऑर्डर्स इनफ्लो आ रहे हैं, कहाँ से आ रहे हैं, प्राइवेट आ रहा है, गवर्नमेंट के सेक्टर्स में से आ रहा है, तो हाउ इज इट कमिंग, हाउ स्ट्रॉन्ग आर योर नंबर्स, हाउ गुड आर वी गोइंग टू डू. एंड दिस टाइम द गुड पार्ट इज दैट वी आर गेटिंग ऑर्डर्स फ्रॉम गवर्नमेंट केपेक्स भी हो रहा है मतलब, एंड प्राइवेट केपेक्सेस भी हो रहे हैं. सो वी आर गेटिंग बोथ ऑफ देम. एंड ऑर्डर्स आर कमिंग फ्रॉम एवरी सिंगल सेक्टर. ऐसा नहीं है कि ओनली वन और टू आर कमिंग. पावर से आ रहा है, स्टील से आ रहा है, देर आर प्रोजेक्ट्स फ्रॉम एवरी सिंगल प्लेस. So, which is the reason I feel that this sector also looks a little good for me. One sector that I was tracking was banks. Now, banks, I was hearing a call wherein I was told that the provisioning done by these banks are almost 20% of their books. Now, one of the things is they said that the condition, the financial health of these banks are one of the best in the world, is what was told to me. And that these people are very strong today. They are very strong. But if you see that the banks, from a 1 to 3 year perspective, they have not done very well compared to the kind of cleanliness that they have done of their books. So they have not performed as well as they should be, which is the reason I feel somewhere down the line, banks should do well. Also, as I mentioned, that the government capex is coming, the private capex is coming. So I believe that the credit growth will increase because of these capex coming. Credit growth बढ़ेगा, and credit growth बढ़ता है, NPAs इनके कम है. Looking at these two, I feel that these banks are good, and in the banks, because they are cheaper, I think maybe PSU banks might do well. I don't know. I can go wrong. But I feel that the PSU banks should do well compared to others. And lastly, the metal sector. If you see the metal sector, since I mentioned that all these capexes are coming, railways are increasing, infrastructure is increasing, I feel that there is something that can happen in the metal sector as well. These are deep cyclical. They are very risky. So please be very careful. Otherwise, just avoid this sector altogether. But if you see the last 2 to 3 years, there are many steel companies. They have done financial deleveraging also. They have repaired their balance sheets. The domestic demand of steel is very strong. Cost is in control. Capex is happening. So things looking good. Export side, pe things are not very good. There is a little bit of anti-China sentiment and everything. But anyways, global economy is looking to revive. China is also doing its bit to ensure growth rates are reviving. So it could be that we might see something good in this particular sector. Other than that, one was pharma. That I was looking at the pharma sector. Now, the pharma operating margin before COVID used to be 23%. If you see the June quarter, even now, again, they are back to the same 23%. So I see something happening in that sector, specifically in the pharma. If you see, most of them were giving their stock to the USA. Abhi USA ke andar also there's a shortage. The problems that were there in sending to the US, even they seem to have subsided. Even there, they feel things are getting better. I was also hearing that a lot of generic companies are now stepping into biosimilars as well. So this is also going to improve their margins and their top lines. So this is also a very positive thing. So overall, I feel maybe there might be some good names if you can spot something in the pharma side On a personal level, I have done some work in hospitals. I, for some reason, I feel that there could be some good long-term compounding story over there. Nothing very big, but a compounding story might be there. So that is my personal view. Just the two things before ending. I just want to say there were just two things that were concerning me, and not in a very big way. One was the food inflation side. That maybe that the food inflation is, we might want to watch how that happens, because if inflation comes in, there might be some impact with the interest rates. That again, that might impact, as I had mentioned, the dominoes. That with the food inflation, they might increase the interest rates, which might decrease the liquidity, which might hamper growth, expansion, and might affect markets in certain manner. So that could be one thing that I want to watch out for. Another thing that I want to watch out for is promoter selling. I've seen that a lot of companies, promoters are selling. Indeed, recently I've seen in pharma many times the promoters are buying. However, I've still seen a lot of promoter selling happening. So I would just want to. So these are the two things where I just keep a little, behind and a little watchful because of these two things. So they say, right, that you invest like a bull, you sit like a bear, but you watch like the eagle. So I'm watching over here like the eagle to make sure I don't miss anything when I'm watching on all these things. Now, just last thing, sorry, before I end, one of the things that Ramesh ji was also mentioning about how he had invested into all these government companies. Railways, there is so much work happening in railways. There is so much work happening on the infrastructure projects. But the companies in India, all these kind of companies, the railway companies in India, you could buy the defense companies, the dock companies, the shipping companies in India, you could buy at a 15,000, 20,000 market cap में पूरा का पूरा sector मिल रहा है. I mean, this is unheard of in the whole world. So that is one of the places how he thought that nee, railways could be a reason where he could park his money. These this infra and this defense, क्या बोलते हैं इसको? So shipping. These are the companies that you could park into. So this is how he came up with this particular side. So yeah, so this is what I have for today. Just ending before, I just want to say that no matter how much you do, no matter how right you are, you might still go wrong. So don't worry about it. Think of the extreme case that can happen if you invest into a company, the worst case and the best case that can happen. Think of that, but ask simple questions that will give you a very good insight at the time of calls whenever you have it with the management. I have two readings that I do every day. I read announcements. Every day I read the newspapers, management interviews. But on weekends, I try to learn something new. I try to do some sector reading. I try to do some future reading. I try to hear some speeches, con calls, speeches of some important people to learn and to grow. This will be really helpful. Please don't listen to any ideas that I share or anybody shares. Please understand, most of the people that we speak to, be it Ramesh Damani ji, be it Junjunwala ji, be it Warren Buffett, they all made their biggest wealth in a single stock. Warren Buffett made their biggest bet with Coke. One is with Titan. Even Vijay Kedia, you can associate with maybe a Atul Auto or some stocks like that. So please understand that you can be, please keep your allocations correct. Don't be sad that that if you bought a share, there's always going to be regret, as Vijayji says. Whether you buy early or you sell early, there's always going to be regret. So don't ever regret, but always listen to other people. But I will request that everybody makes their own decision. And at last, what I tell everybody else: have greed. Greed is a growth driver. If you don't have greed, you will not move forward. But don't push yourself too hard. Too much greed also becomes very dangerous. So you have to make sure of that. Do good deeds. आप अच्छा करोगे तो आपको लक मिलता है. एंड एज मैंने आपको बताया था कि ये सब कुछ मेरे साथ होता नहीं है. ये सब मैंने किया नहीं है. ये सब मेरे साथ हुआ है. एंड ऑल दीज थिंग्स हैपेंस बिकॉज ऑफ लक. एंड लक इज बिकॉज ऑफ गुड कर्मा. You do good karma and all the good things will happen to you. With that, I end what I had to say. If there are a couple of questions, I would be very happy to answer. Over to you, Prince. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Pratik, for the continuous monologue of over 1 hour. It was really interesting. Couldn't, feel like stopping you in between. I mean, Pratik, let's talk about the mistakes you made over a period of maybe 17 years in your experience, right?
Hmm.
And specifically, you were talking about you had worked in various sectors
Yes.
that give you an edge so as to understand the nuances of different sectors.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, okay, perfect. So mistakes, so there is a lot. You will have to give me another 2 hours of time, double the time to tell you about my mistakes. And I would love to have a session next time where I can talk about my mistakes. But just to mention a few, very recently there was one of the companies by the name of India Bulls. It is on my wall of shame. So now the point was, I invested. So there was a friend of mine who told me he had gone for an interview to India Bulls Real Estate. एंड ही सेड दैट बाहर में बोर्ड लगाया हुआ था एम्बेसी का. आई सेड कि नहीं लगा सकता है यार, हाउ कैन दैट बी पॉसिबल. ही सेड नहीं नहीं मेरे पास कार्ड भी है, दे हैव एन एम्बेसी का कार्ड. आई वाज लाइक अरे ये तो अलग हो गया. दैट मींस वॉट एवर इज गोइंग ऑन थिंग्स विल चेंज वेरी फास्ट. So I was able to spot the share very early, but and the price performed also. एंड बट व्हाट हैपेंड वाज ग्रीड था एंड एरोगेंस था. ये दो चीज थी जो मैंने अपसाइड पे उसको एवरेज किया कि आई कैन नेवर बी रॉन्ग. एंड देयर वर लॉट ऑफ एंड फिर क्या हुआ, उनका एक प्रेजेंटेशन आया वेयर सर्टेन थिंग्स दैट दे हैड गिवन इन द प्रीवियस प्रेजेंटेशन, वो नए प्रेजेंटेशन में उसके नंबर्स अलग थे. Instead of asking questions, instead of doing my due diligence at that particular time and revisiting my hypothesis जो मैंने आपको बताया, मैंने उनमें से कुछ भी नहीं किया because I was arrogant. And वो शेयर मेरे प्राइस के बाद में वहां से जो नीचे गिरा है, there was no downside. एंड द लास्ट मिस्टेक आई मेड वॉज आई डिड नॉट कट माई लॉसेस ऑन टाइम. अगर मैं वो कर लेता आई कुड हैव स्टिल मेड मनी, बट नहीं, मैंने वो भी नहीं किया. अगेन इन एरोगेंस. सो आई मेड वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट लॉस ऑफ माई लाइफ, वेरी रिसेंट वाला ओनली. आई मेड अ बिगेस्ट लॉस ऑफ माई लाइफ. बट जब अकल आई तब मैंने उसको सेल किया. I and I invested elsewhere where I could make some money back, whatever I lost, of course. बट द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग वॉज द लर्निंग. जो लर्निंग उसमें से मेरे को मिली एज टू हाउ रॉन्ग कैन आई गो. सो आई पुट इट अप ऑन अ पेपर एंड आई पुट इट अप ऑन माई वॉल ऑफ शेम दैट ये चीज वापस करनी नहीं है. सो दैट वॉज अबाउट द कंपनी. And about one of the biggest like about the company dynamics that I was trying to tell you is that when I was that there was I was working with a FMCG company, and उस FMCG company का नाम था Lycus. I was with that company, and there was this one company that we were looking at by the name of Arvind Remedies. Now this company was doing very good, but उसमें borrowings बहुत high थी और उसमें एक figure बहुत अच्छा था. Sorry, बहुत खराब था, not अच्छा नहीं था, वो बहुत खराब था. And so I came up with that idea and I told Vijay ji that ये company बहुत अच्छी लग रही है. So Vijayji looked at the numbers, and most of the companies he has seen from the past. He normally tracks these companies for a while. But this company, I know that he did not know about this company. But he looked at the numbers and he said, "ये company में ना एक problem है." So I said, "What?" He said, "There is one factor. अगर समझो कंपनी में एम्प्लॉय की स्ट्राइक हो जाए, एम्प्लॉयज की अगर स्ट्राइक हो जाए तो ये कंपनी बंद हो जाएगी." मैंने बोला कि हाउ मैं कितना चांसेस है कि इस कंपनी में स्ट्राइक हो जाएगी और ये कंपनी बंद हो जाएगी. सो ही इज लाइक नहीं नहीं मेरे को पता नहीं, मेरे को गट फीलिंग है कि नहीं करना चाहिए. एंड वी डिड नॉट डू इट. एंड यू विल नॉट बिलीव, 3 महीने के बाद उस कंपनी में एम्प्लॉय की स्ट्राइक हो गई. मेरे को आज तक फिगर आउट नहीं हुआ कि समझा कैसे. सिंस आई वॉज फ्रॉम द इंडस्ट्री आई कुड नॉट फिगर इट आउट. बट वॉट हैपेंस इज, if you keep reading, if you keep tracking, your experience teaches you a lot. जो मैंने आपको बताया that learn from other people, your experience gets a lot, your gut feeling gets stronger. So that is what you are supposed to do. Also when I was there in Lycus, मेरे को एक बात समझ में आया. I was making biscuits at that particular time. बिस्किट्स बनाना कितना डिफिकल्ट रहता है, बट दैट टाइम आई अंडरस्टूड कि बिस्किट्स को मैंने कितने पार्ट्स में ब्रेकअप किया. उसकी रैपिंग थी, रैपिंग पे कलर था, कलर के ऊपर वो आप मेटालिक करोगे कि मैट करोगे, फिर आप उसमें एम्बॉर्सिंग करोगे कि नहीं करोगे, वैसे करके फिर क्या साइज में, किस तरीके का बिस्किट, क्या साइज का बिस्किट, कितना ग्रामेज. मतलब आई कैन टेल यू अराउंड 100 फैक्टर्स जो हम लोग ने उस टाइम पे निकाले होंगे जस्ट फॉर अ सिंगल बिस्किट. नाउ इफ वी can do something similar to our markets where we are defining that these are the things that I need to know, nothing else. Your initial part is difficult, following on is not so difficult. So all I'm trying to say is make it simple for yourself, set a discipline for yourself, and then invest accordingly, but give some time to it. अब वो unit economics define तो कर लो. After that you don't have to work for your life. And last one part, one word of advice in this matter that I want to say is that take it easy, enjoy your life, along with investing into the stock markets. Markets तो चलता रहेगा. जो स्टॉक मार्केट वाले हैं एज ए से वो लोग गोल्फ खेल रहे हैं और हम लोग यहाँ पर जो इन्वेस्ट करके बैठे हैं और सारा काम उनको करना है, हम यहाँ पे टेंशन ले रहे हैं. सो इट्स सपोज टू बी द अदर साइड राउंड. One of the parts, being on the other side of the table, I understood कि being an analyst and telling them कि आपका 20% का growth आया नहीं is very simple. But you be on the other side of the table and decide कि 20% का growth deliver करे कैसे. That is a very big task. So leave the difficult part to the management. Let them perform. Invest in a good management. जैसे मैंने आपको define किया, all these things are there on my Twitter. मैंने उसको लिखा हुआ है. Follow them, see how exactly can you identify a good management and only go with them. So this is my advice with all my fellow investors over here. And if I did not answer the questions, please let me know about it. I will put it up in another way.
Can't be a better answer, Pratik. And your mistakes. I mean, it's very tough to admit our mistakes, and doing that and learning from those is indeed a thing of market which everyone should do. So, Pratik, I mean, we let's talk a little bit about Vijay sir. So, you have an edge being parented by him and giving all the market learnings. On on the contrary, like being his son also puts some pressure on you so as to perform. So, how had it been on these fronts for you? If you would like to answer, I mean.
वो क्या है ना कि नीदर ही नीदर आए वी उसको कभी फैक्टर हम लोग ने रखा नहीं है. द प्रेशर कम्स फ्रॉम आउटसाइड एंड आई मीन ऑफ कोर्स ही वुड फील हैप्पी अबाउट इट बट एंड आई वुड आल्सो फील हैप्पी अबाउट इट बट उसको फैक्टर नहीं रखा है. द आइडिया इज टू परफॉर्म इंडिविजुअली. आई एम ऑल्सो बीइंग अ पार्ट ऑफ द इंडस्ट्री फॉर द सेम रीजन कि मैं खुद अपना लर्निंग करूं. ऑफ कोर्स इट्स अ वेरी बिग एडवांटेज दैट मेरे को ऐसा मौका मिलता है कि मैं उनके अंडर में सीख सकूं. बट फिर भी मैंने अपना टाइम इसमें इन्वेस्ट किया कि जो दूसरे भी इन्वेस्टर्स हैं मैं उनसे भी सीख सकता हूँ. देर आर सो मेनी पीपल जैसे ऑफ कोर्स आई एम सेइंग रमेश दमानी जी इज देयर, राकेश झुनझुनवाला जी इज देयर, आई नो नवनीत मुनोज जी. ऑल दीज पीपल द वे दीज पीपल हैव मतलब अगर आप उनका प्रोसेस देखोगे कि वो लोग किस तरीके से इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, हर जन का इन्वेस्टमेंट का तरीका इतना डिफरेंट है एंड इट इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. तो ऑफकोर्स विजय जी का स्माइल प्रिंसिपल सबको पता है. इफ यू गो एंड सी नवनीत मनोज जी, उन्होंने बताया था कि जब वो पहली बार इन्वेस्टमेंट चालू किए थे तो वो क्या करते थे, वो सिर्फ कमोडिटी प्राइसेस देखते थे एवरी डे. वो सिर्फ कमोडिटी प्राइसेस देखकर वो सोचते थे कि मार्केट में क्या होगा. एंड उस चीज से उनको इंफॉर्मेशन का एज मिला और उनको बिहेवियर का एज मिला. क्योंकि कोई भी बिहेवियर उनको फिर अफेक्ट नहीं कर पाया. मार्केट में यूफोरिया था बट उनको कमोडिटी प्राइसेस मालूम होते थे. सो दिस इज हाउ यू आर सपोज टू गेट इट. So the best part about these people that you have mentioned, like Vijay ji, the ones that I'm talking about, they all come on TV और वो आपको सब वही सिखा रहे हैं जो मैं सीख रहा हूँ. There is nothing different over there, and the reason is because they genuinely want you to do good and they don't want you to invest in the companies where we have invested. Am I audible?
Yeah, Pratik, sure.
Okay. So I'm saying that these people, they genuinely don't want you to be investing in the companies that we are recommending. आप उस आइडिया से ये समझो कि फिश कैसे पकड़ना है, आप वो फिश मत पकड़ो. क्योंकि हम लोगों का इन्वेस्टमेंट, हमारा रिस्क प्रोफाइल अलग होगा, हम लोग कभी भी बेच सकते हैं. तो मेरा जो पार्ट स्ट्रांग हुआ बिकॉज ऑफ विजय जी वाज माय डिसिप्लिन. देयर वर लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स मेरे को लॉसेस कट नहीं करने थे, बट वो लॉसेस मेरे को कट करवाएंगे एज अ डिसिप्लिन. तो वो धीरे धीरे बिल्टअप हुआ एंड दैट रियली मैटर्ड अ लॉट. And of course I learned a lot from other people as well. And there was another person by the name of Neeraj Sumaya also that I want to give credit to. I was in the when I was working in the industry, I thought कि यार अब इंडस्ट्री में है, let me start my career here only. But he got me back. वो मेरे को फिर लेकर आए मार्केट्स के अंदर. उन्होंने बोला कि नहीं, you have to learn, you have to every सैटरडे उन्होंने लर्निंग सेशंस रखे हैं जहां पे मैं सीख सकता था. So that's what I was saying, that I'm so happy कि मेरे लाइफ में इतने सारे द्रोणाचार्यस थे जिन्होंने मेरे को सिखाया. दमानी जी विल ऑलवेज टेल यू अबाउट हाउ कंपाउंडिंग इज देयर. हम सब मल्टी बैगर ढूंढ ढूंढ के, दैट इज द रीजन वी आर इन्वेस्टिंग इन पीपल्स टिप्स एंड एवरीथिंग. आप मल्टी बैगर मत देखो, आप कंपाउंडर्स देखो. 20% कंपाउंडर्स आर अ वेरी गुड ग्रोथ स्टोरीज. So so that is what my request will be for everybody, and this is what I have, this is the edge that I have, and this is the edge, information analytical, market edge, behavioral edge. ये सब edge I feel everybody should develop as well by listening to everybody's. आप सबके interviews सुनिए and you get all those things, is what I request.
And Pratik, like hypothetically, say if you have conviction about some company, and say Vijay sir has a different view or maybe a negative view per se, and you are very confident about that. So how you go about dealing with that investment?
बवाल होता है भाई, बवाल होता है, दंगल होता है घर में. I'll tell you, there was a share by the name, I hope he's not listening. There was a share by the name of Deepak Nitrite. अभी क्या हुआ था, हम लोग एक कंपनी पढ़ रहे थे, HOCL. HOCL के प्रेजेंटेशन में लिखा हुआ था कि 5% मार्केट शेयर इज विद HOCL एंड 95% ऑफ फिनॉल इज इंपोर्टेड. एंड हम लोग को समझ में आया कि दीपक नाइट्राइट वाज सेटिंग अप अ फैक्ट्री फॉर द सेम. देयर वाज अ गवर्नमेंट का पेपर, हाउ गवर्नमेंट वांटेड टू रिवाइव फिनॉल बिकॉज फिनॉल वाज गोइंग टू बी अ बिग थिंग. बट फिनॉल उसके साथ एक हजार्डियस प्रोग्राम का भी था जहां पे नई कंपनीज को सेटअप करने में देवर लॉट ऑफ इश्यूज. सो नाउ द पॉइंट वाज दीपक नाइट्राइट वाज सेटिंग अप. उसके पास ऑलरेडी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन नेटवर्क सेट था. हम लोगों ने उसके बहुत सारे डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स के साथ बात की. सारे डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स दीपक नाइट्राइट के साथ खुश थे. हम लोग ने HOCL को फोन करके बोला हमको फिनॉइल खरीदना है. मतलब मैंने नहीं बोला, मैंने मेरे फ्रेंड को बोला कि फोन करके फिनॉल खरीद. तो उसने बोला कि यार वो बोलता है कि ये प्राइस पे बेचेगा 800 या वॉट एवर ही हैड कोटेड. मैं बोला कि नहीं, काम कर, क्वांटिटी में डबल करता हूँ, अब प्राइस कम कर दो. उसने बोला कि नहीं ऐसे काम नहीं होता, खरीदना है तो खरीदो वरना जाने दो. तो मेरे को समझ में आया कि यार ये कंपनी तो प्रॉब्लम में है. एंड HOCL वाज अ 100 crore कंपनी विद 1600 crore कैश इन बुक्स. एंड उसको NBCC उसके लैंड बेच रहा था. मतलब दैट वाज द काइंड ऑफ पोटेंशियल दैट वाज शोइंग इन HOCL. But I got Deepak Nitrite, which was at a very high P that time, which was at I don't know, I think 30-40 P के ऊपर होगा वो, something like that. So when Vijay ji came to know about it, Vijay ji told me तुम्हारा दिमाग खराब है क्या, ये तो commodity है. मैं बोला कि मैं मानता हूँ commodity है, इसका स्टोरी प्ले आउट होगा. ही लाइक नहीं नहीं तू फोन कर और तू अभी बेच. मैं बोला नहीं नहीं मैं बेचूंगा नहीं. इसे ठीक है तू देख, तू यू विल गो रॉन्ग. मेरी डरी हुई थी. मैं बोला यार आज तो हालत खराब हो गया इफ इट डजंट परफॉर्म. कोइंसिडेंटली इट डिड अ लिटिल बेटर. आई मेट अ कपल ऑफ माई फ्रेंड्स वो फ्रॉम मैकेंजी. तो वो केमिकल इंजीनियर था मैकेंजी में. वो मेरे को बोला यार ये तो दासदा बेचता है. तो मैं बोला नहीं फिनॉल का स्टोरी है. बोलता है अरे नहीं दासदा तो कमोडिटी है, यूरोप में उसका बहुत प्रॉब्लम है, तो ये स्टॉक तो गिर जाएगा. मैं बोला अच्छा दासदा बेच रहा है ना. मैं बोला हाँ. मैं बोला ठीक है चल कोई बात नहीं, क्योंकि मेरी फिनॉल की स्टोरी तो आई नहीं. फिर बाद में मैं एक जन को मिला जो रिलायंस से था. वो रिलायंस वाला भी मेरे को यही बोला. मेरे को बोला यार ये खरीद रहा है, ये तो कुछ खास नहीं है. ये क्या लिया. मैं बोला नहीं यार ले लिया, अब देखते हैं क्या जाता है. एंड द प्रॉब्लम वाज कि मेरा एलोकेशन बहुत हाई था. तो ऑफ कोर्स माय फैमिली वाज कंसर्न्ड कि क्या कर रहा है ये. सो एक दिन विजय जी ने मेरे को फोन करके बोला अभी का अभी फोन कर और दीपक नाइट्राइट बेच. बट ऑफ कोर्स आई वाज इन द मनी, द प्राइस वाज ऑलरेडी हाई. बट आई थिंक वो 500 का गिर के 360 हो गया था उस टाइम पे. फॉर सम रीजन आई फॉरगॉट व्हाट रीजन. उन्होंने बोला अभी का अभी फोन कर और बेच. इट्स ऑलवेज देयर इज, इट डजंट मैटर कितना लॉस है, टेक इट एज अ लर्निंग. मैंने फोन किया रॉन्ग नंबर पे, मैंने बोला बेच दो. और मैंने फोन रख दिया बट मैंने बेचा नहीं. फिर उसका फिनॉल का स्टोरी प्ले आउट हुआ and it's shot up. And I don't know how many people Vijay ji must have made me speak to, and everybody told me that it's a commodity, you should sell it. And मैं बोला कि नहीं नहीं मैं बेच दूंगा, आई स्वेयर मैं बेच दूंगा. इट वेंट अप टू 2000, 1800 हुआ था, बट 2000 पे फिर आई एग्जिटेड दैट स्टॉक. एंड उस दिन मैंने जाके बोला कि हाँ ठीक है पैसे बने हैं, आई हैव गॉट माइन आउट. सो दैट वाज वन स्टोरी. And one story that I'll tell you, that he asked me which company did you select. So that time I told him Edelweiss. He said okay. After some days I went to him and I told him देखा Edelweiss. He like अच्छा कितना profit बनाया. I said I made 2 times. He's like मैंने मोतीलाल खरीदा, I made 5 times. बोला बाप बाप होता है, पंगे नहीं लेना चाहिए. तो बवाल रहता है ब्रदर. It's difficult, but of course, I want to keep that competition with him alive. Only then I want to find my 100 baggers. Only then I will be able. That gives me a motivation, to get up and study and work harder. Is what I feel.
So Pratik, is it fair to assume that you have full independence as far as making your investment decisions, or I mean,
I have there are but what happens from time to time I have to give my reasoning. And even if I don't have to, I would like to do that. I would like to give my reasoning. मतलब see, if I have access to him, it makes sense. This is something that I would do. जैसे मेरा एक friend है जो मैं आपको बता रहा था, उसका नाम मयंक है. आई एम थिंक ही वाज आल्सो लिसनिंग. वो भी यही ढूंढता है, वो मौका ढूंढता है कि मेरे को कब कोई मिले, मैं उसको जाके बोलूं कि मैंने इस कंपनी में का शेयर खरीदा है, और वो मेरे को बोलेगा कि ये तू गधा है. अगर उसने मेरे को बोल दिया कि तू गधा है, तो वो मेरे को इंप्रूव करेगा कि यू आर अ डोंकी बिकॉज. And whatever he will define, I will come to know what I need to find out about my share. So that will define my share picks. So if I have an access, I would want to use it. If not, Vijayji, even if I get somebody else, I will go to that person also and I will tell him that this is the share I have got. And if that person corrects me that this is where you are wrong, I would love to learn from them. क्योंकि मैं मानता हूं ये बात को कि मेरे को कुछ नहीं आता, and you people understand it this thing much better than what I do. आप लोग के पास उसका confidence है. So coming to your answer, I would love to have that access. I would love to go to him, and some of the times I still have to go to him and explain myself. So this is how things work. And if not, I like this process as well. And I would also request aap log, whoever are listening, please present it to people who are rude to you. They are actually the people who are helping you the most. और जो आपके साथ agree कर रहा है ना, they are definitely not your friends. They will be buying it after you. वो front running करेंगे, पक्की बात है. So yeah, so वो है.
great, great. And everyone in the spaces, do give a follow to Pratik so that we can push him more for such wonderful sessions. So Lakshita, any question on your part? I have plenty of questions. So Pratik, how good we are on time? I mean,
Yes, आपने मेरे को बोला था 70 मिनट है तुम्हारे पास, तो मैं उसको माइंड में रख दिया. मैंने 70 मिनट में सब खत्म किया.
great. Okay, Pratik. So basically, say if you are running a business, so which
हाँ
two,
हाँ.
three things you will never compromise being a part of the management?
See, one thing I would not. That's a tough one because there is a lot. But one part is of course integrity. मेरे को ये बात समझ में आता है that I have to have. अभी भी right now also we had a presentation with my company where we spoke about something called सेवा भावना. We said कि यार we have to do good to everybody. सबके लिए हम सेवा कर रहे हैं. तो we have to make sure सारे decisions वही लेने हैं जहाँ पे सामने वाला खुश है. Because कोई हमारे shares खरीद रहा है. Some people are buying our products, some people are associated with us by giving us some services, maybe financing or whatever. So every single person is associated with us, so I want integrity and transparency. One of the things I want that I do is, no matter what I'm doing, I own it. मतलब वो चीज मेरी है. I am not going to look at it that I'm working for somebody. I have to look at it कि every single expense is my own. I have to look at that. So that is one of the things that I will always do. One of the things that I will do, that I will request everybody in business to do, is to be bold. Take risk. Everybody has to take risk. Don't fear that you're going to fail. Failing is not a problem at all, but you have to take risk. You never know what will work, what will not work. There was a very stupid incident in my life wherein एक place पे एक मतलब, anyways, forget about it. Sorry, public platform में बोलना नहीं चाहिए था. But anyway, so but I took risks. I took some daring risks, and I failed also over there. But the point was that but it shouldn't discourage you from taking the risk the second time. You have to take risk and you have to go forward and learn from it. आप उसको अपने mental models में बैठाओ and you understand how will you do this particular job differently. So that will really help you quite a lot. Yeah, I will. So these are a couple of points that comes to my mind when I think, when you're doing business, I should keep in my mind.
Great, Pratik. And like I had a personal interaction with Pratik in Goa last month. Trust me, he's a very
Yes.
humble guy. I'm not saying for the sake of that he's our guest for today, But I would sincerely ask Pratik, like you are so humble, so where did you acquire such humility? Because what I have seen normally is like when somebody has a pedigree of the likes of Vijay sir, or maybe someone who is very rich. So normally they this is not a statement so as to quote rich people as they are less accessible and less humble in my observation. Maybe my interactions were very less, not to generalize, but again, how you maintained that?
यार देख सी यू गिव मी अ कॉम्प्लीमेंट मेरे को कॉम्प्लीमेंट रखना है बट टेलिंग यू द फैक्ट देख ब्रदर अगर अगर गाड़ी मांगी थी ना इसके लिए रिक्शा की कंपनी में भेज दिया यू अंडरस्टैंड तो आदमी ऐसे ही हम्बल हो जाता है क्योंकि उसको पता कि कुछ है ही नहीं देर इज नथिंग बट नहीं यार I've seen the struggle. I've seen the hard way. That people have put in. मेरे को उनका समझ में आता है तो देर इज नथिंग दैट आई हैव टू बी प्राउड अबाउट टू बी वेरी फ्रैंक लोग बहुत मेहनत करते हैं यार देर आर पीपल हु हैव डन फार बेटर देन मी विथ मच लेस so and I frankly I have nothing to be until some point I think Vijay ji is also like this only and so I feel somewhere down the line that has also rubbed up a lot on me as well and as my family तो हम लोग एज अ फैमिली हम लोग सब आई थिंक हम लोग सब जितना हम्बल हो सकते हैं उतना है एंड थोड़ा जितना फिट करना चाहते हैं उतना फिट भी रहना चाहते हैं ऑफ कोर्स नोबडी एल्स सिंग्स एज गुड एज ही डज बट बाकी सब में हम लोग सिमिलर ही है वी आर ऑल वो जुड़वा नहीं हम सब तिड़वा चुड़वा है वो सब वैसे ही हम लोग सब लोग
Interesting, Pratik. So, Pratik, I think so. Lakshita, any question from your end, or shall we ask for concluding remarks for the day? And we'll also ask Pratik so as to commit for a next session. Date we will decide later for sure. And trust me, Pratik, not saying for the sake of saying, it is one of our best sessions. Literally,
अरे सर थैंक यू सर थैंक
great
यू सो मच यार
presentation.
प्रिंस भाई इट्स ऑलवेज बीन सो अमेजिंग टॉकिंग टू यू बडी थैंक यू
Amazing.
थैंक्स सर
So, Pratik, anything you want to conclude with, or also like small input if you are looking something particular in the chemical sector, if you wish to talk about.
देर इज नथिंग मच बस वही जो मैंने आपको बताया कि मोर देन द केमिकल साइड आई वाज थिंकिंग मोर ऑन द फार्मा साइड आई फील दिस होल सिनेरियो व्हिच माइट चेंज द वैल्यूएशंस सीम बेटर अगर आप देखो तो आफ्टर कोविड यही सेक्टर्स जो था जो फार्मा सेक्टर था इट हैड गॉन अप बट उसके बाद इसके अंदर डाउनसाइड जो आया वो अभी तक रिवाइव नहीं हुआ वो साइकिल अभी तक रिवाइव नहीं हुआ and understanding that it has been 2-3 years since this sector has revived I was feeling that something might happen the story might turn so it's just a hunch again I'm saying I might go horribly wrong in this but जो यूएसए का जो मार्केट्स जो अपनी एक्सेप्टेंस जो शॉर्टेजेस जो सब चीजें दिख रही हैं जैसे G20 आया ऑफ कोर्स चाइना वाला स्टोरी भी है if everything goes well I think this might do a little better and if you see I've not invested into it but नहीं मतलब Newland Labs of course I have Newland Labs though but other than Newland Labs there were many other stories you will see that there are a lot of companies where promoters are also confident in the pharma side जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि many places promoters are selling shares but in the pharma you will see a lot of companies promoters are buying shares they are buying for the same reason कि 2-3 साल से स्टोरी में कुछ भी नहीं हुआ हो सकता है there might be something happening or something cooking in this space that we might want to watch out for so yeah, so that's what I would want to say about it. Yeah.
Great, great. So we got one speaker, and Ravikant, if you remember, we met in Goa.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
So Ravi, you can unmute and maybe ask your question or whatever way you want to interact. Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah, hi
Ravikant ji.
Pratik, how are you? I'm
All
fine, I'm
fine.
fine.
Very good,
Yes,
Ravi ji.
good,
Very good.
good. And it was very nice interacting with you. In fact, I had mentioned your example to Prince, like the way you had analyzed Atul Auto. Like I had raised a couple of questions after your like presentation at the IS Summit, and it was amazing. I mean, you were so thorough with your homework that you had you know all the numbers on your back of your hand. So it was pretty good actually.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Thank you.
again, I must appreciate the effort which you have put in for this space, and you had actually a very, I mean, say, very smooth monologue because it never ever felt like 70 minute. It felt like, matlab, it was something very good and very worth appreciating. So, if I may, can I ask a couple of questions?
Please, sir, please. Yes.
So, Pratik sir, in the beginning of your opening remarks, you talked about the India story. So, like,
Yes.
while we are aware of, the various triggers, right, from, political economy to demography to, rise in the per capita income and all, what are the challenges or traps do you see to the overall India story?
Okay. So one of the things that I can think about is, see, right now, if you're talking about a short term, there might be a lot. We can say that the markets might not really be very well valued, but we are well placed. On the challenges front, I think if there is some, if something goes wrong on some with some another country or something like that, some relationship goes wrong. I think that could be some challenge which can pose for India in certain way. Then if you go to see to it, maybe if the government, like the elections are coming up, next year is going to be a very important year. Not only India, many countries are going into elections next year. I think Taiwan also has an election next year. Like Taiwan, there are other countries also which have elections next year. So even India has. If India doesn't get a majority is always good. There can again be a little short-term, problem with the markets, I think, but that'll be short lived. Of course, whichever government comes, I've always seen that the India story is always very strong. But a short term blip rahega, thoda sa problem rahega short term ke andar is what I can imagine. Other than that, as I had mentioned कि मेरे को कोई ज्यादा दिखता नहीं है ये inflation वाला problem how India tackles that would be very important. And yeah, other than that, I don't see a lot of issues with the Indian market. जितने भी problems है, I think there is some way or the other that India can get out of it. So I don't really see a very some big problem with India story going forward.
Hey,
Hello, am I
Ravikant,
audible?
more questions? You are on mute,
Ravi
I
Hello.
ji?
guess.
Yes, Ravi ji.
So I was saying, Pratik sir, to paraphrase you, barring politics and international geopolitics,
Mhm.
you see handling of inflation and current valuation as a key challenge to the India
As a
story
key
right now.
challenge. Correct, ji,
Okay.
correct, correct. And valuation also because agar if funds decide that they don't want to come in or something like that, you might be holding on to that same stock for a little
Correct.
longer period than what you expect. So wo hai.
Correct.
But
Correct.
but other than that, I really don't see a lot of challenges.
Okay. So can I follow up with another question?
Please, please, Haji.
So, the in the second part of your monologue, you emphasized upon the quality of management, and Vijay sir, especially one of his key aces, which has made him what he is today, is his ability to identify quality management. So
Right,
for a
right.
retail investor, either like one has to have that kind of acumen which Vijay sir has, or
Correct, ji.
the kind of resources which Kedia Securities today's has. So for a retail
Hmm.
investor, what process or like what path would you lay out so that we also can get a grip on overall quality of the management.
Right, G, right. So in that, see, management again, he tracks those management. The point is,
Mhm.
I realized this thing when we were doing the Patel study that he knew about the company because he's been tracking it since 2005. Atul Auto, he's been tracking since 2004. There was a company by the name of Sudarshan. He's been tracking that company since 1996 or something like that. So what I'm trying to say is that the observing was not short term; it was a long term vision. And the point is that when you keep tracking that उसने क्या बोला, उसने उसके बाद किया क्या, और तो what happens is आप ये बोल पाते हो कि ये आदमी ऐसा बोलता है but ऐसा करेगा नहीं. It becomes simple from experience about that particular part. And what I was trying to tell you is that is the reason I mentioned that whenever you're looking at a management, you have to see those certain factors which I had pointed out. तो वो factors बहुत important है, कि if they're attracting good talent, कैपिटल अलॉटमेंट कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे हैं, व्हाट आर द काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स दैट दे आर डूइंग। एंड द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट जो आप देख सकते हो ना, कि जब डाउन साइकिल आता है, हर साइकिल में ना, हर कंपनी में ना साइकिल तो आता ही आता है, उसने डाउन साइकिल को प्ले कैसे किया ना, दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। कि अगर समझिए कोविड आया तो उसने क्या एक्शंस लिए, व्हाट एक्शंस दिस गाय डिड टू सर्वाइव, दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू अंडरस्टैंड अ मैनेजमेंट, कि वो क्या कैसे सोचता है, क्या कर रहा है। बट बेसिकली यू आर सपोज टू अंडरस्टैंड कि उसने जो जो डिसीजंस लिए हैं, इज दैट गोइंग टू क्रिएट वैल्यू, अगर वो कंपनी को स्केल करेगा या नहीं करेगा, और इफ इट इज गोइंग टू मेक इट अ कॉस्ट लीडरशिप और नॉट। कॉस्ट लीडरशिप बनाना बहुत जरूरी है एक बिजनेस को। सो वेदर दिस विल मेक देम अ कॉस्ट लीडरशिप और इट विल नॉट मेक, तो उसका एग्जीक्यूशन स्टाइल समझना बहुत जरूरी है। सो दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। अगेन इफ यू सी वैद्यनाथन जी, तो वैद्यनाथन जी ऑल्सो, देवर वीडियोज ऑफ वैद्यनाथन जी वेर ही गोज टू स्टोर्स, और वो उनको पूछते हैं कि तुम्हारा इकोनॉमिक्स कैसे चलता है। वो उनका एक वीडियो था जहां पर ही वेंट टू अ प्लेस जो एग्स बेच रहे हैं, और उन्होंने उसकी पूरी इकोनॉमिक्स समझी कि किस तरीके से क्या काम करता है। एंड देन इफ यू गो टू लिसन, टेल यू एवरी सिंगल यूनिट इकोनॉमिक्स इन हिज व्हेनेवर ही स्पीक्स, एंड ही विल से कि ये वाला पर्टिकुलर थिंग है ना, इट इज नॉट वर्किंग वेरी वेल, बट हिज इस पर्टिकुलर यूनिट इकोनॉमिक्स को हम अगले क्वार्टर या 2 क्वार्टर में इंप्रूव करेंगे। So that kind, you will come to know which management is good, which management is bad, in this particular way. And second part is that if you listen to people, like Damani ji or Kedia ji or anybody, तो आप
Mm-hmm.
उनसे भी थोड़ा आइडिया ले सकते हो। दे हैव डन 50% ऑफ योर होमवर्क, मतलब कहीं ना कहीं उन्होंने भी अपना होमवर्क किया हुआ ही है। तो यू लिसन टू देम,
Mm-hmm.
सम पीपल हु आर बीन ट्रैकिंग द मार्केट्स मे बी फॉर 15 years, आप उनको ट्रैक करो।
Mm-hmm.
और इफ देर इज अ मोस्ट ऑफ द मैनेजमेंट जो आप देखोगे, even they have a track record of 15 years या 10 years or something like that, so you invest in them. But of course, if you I understand आप कहाँ से आ रहे हो, you're also talking about startups, I can understand about that. So in startups you will not have that kind of leeway. So some places in
Mm-hmm.
startups, that is a little place where आपको risk define करना पड़ता है, that this is going to be a risk for me, कि अगर इस
Mm-hmm.
मैनेजमेंट ने ठीक से काम किया नहीं तो मैं क्या करूंगा। और if you're investing into an SME, you can understand that what can happen if this guy does not do this particular thing, how much is at risk. So in that, so at that time you have to decide how much valuation are you supposed to give. ऐसे companies को you might not want to give 50 times, 100 times valuations. You know, you have to keep yourself safety over your safety as well over there. Which is the reason मेरे को startups में थोड़ा problem होता है investment करने के लिए. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
little better with the listed side because the management
Correct.
can be good.
नाइस, काफी सारे पॉइंट्स मिले आपके से.
जी जी।
सो लास्ट बट नॉट द लीस्ट, कमिंग टू द थर्ड पार्ट ऑफ योर मोनोलॉग. So
हाँ.
now I will be a bit mean here. So can you
Yes.
point out at some key themes or sectors or even names which one should, look at, the valuations may be stretched, but that will be an individual's call. But key themes, sectors or names where one needs to look.
This is a good one. See, power is something that I am focusing on presently. My main focus personally is on EV. The reason I'm mentioning this one is because I put my own money into it. So मैं इसको recommend कर रहा हूँ that I'm betting on EV with EV. But I was early. Please, new investments अभी आप लोग valuation देख के करें. Otherwise expensive है तो आप उसको skip करें. But EV was some theme that I think will play down better. Power is one theme I feel should play better. And there are a lot
Mm-hmm.
of yeah. So other than that, जो हमारे पुराने investments, I think those are the same ones that I want to continue with. So
Mm-hmm.
not really looking out for anything new. Sorry, to be very frank with you, in this kind of a market, the क्या बोलते हैं, the reinvestment risk for me is quite a lot. कि अगर मैंने
Mm-hmm.
मेरे पुराने वाले को सेल किया और नए वाले में इन्वेस्टमेंट किया और वो
Mm-hmm.
ऊपर भाग गया, तो मेरा ज्यादा बड़ा लॉस हो जाएगा, बिकॉज आई
तो
बॉट दैट
सर,
वन एट अ लोअर प्राइस.
सर एक मैं इसको रिफ्रेश कर देता हूँ. कैन यू नेम फ्यू सनराइज सेक्टर्स?
So that's what I was saying. I think the EV, for me, the EV is like the sunrise sector for me right now.
Yeah.
So I am looking, so I am focusing on the EV and the power side. These are the two companies that I am currently focusing on. And
Mm-hmm.
बाकी के the ones that I had mentioned, जैसे pharma बताया मैंने, banks बताया. Banks look good actually for me.
Mm-hmm.
I would not mind betting on banks. Since आपने बोला, मेरे को अभी याद आया कि banks are also not very bad. Banks are very good. So banks
Mm-hmm.
look good. So there was one company I have invested by the name of Gravita, that is recycling. So
Recycling,
for
yes.
recycling, तो since वो EV में है, अगर आप EV करोगे उतनी सारी बैटरीज आएंगी, उनको रिसाइकलिंग करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट हैज टू गेट आउट नॉर्म्स बिकॉज दे हैव टू बी डिस्पोज्ड ऑफ इन अ मैटर जहां पे क्लाइमेट को सेम प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं हो. सो फॉर दैट यू विल नीड टू हैव सम गुड रिसाइकलिंग ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल. बट प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड कि बैटरी का लाइफ जो होता है ना, वो 8 साल का बैटरी का लाइफ होता है. सो यू
Mm-hmm.
हैव टू ऑल्सो अंडरस्टैंड द नंबर ऑफ ईवीज विच आर देयर ऑन द रोड, और द
Mm-hmm.
लेड recycling that would come up in going forward in multiple years. वो immediately वो demand आएगा नहीं, वो demand slowly slowly आएगा उन companies में. So as you said, it's a sunrise. वो अभी तक आया नहीं है, but maybe after some time you might see that something. Also, since you mentioned, मेरे को एक और याद आया, जैसे ये alcohol वाला sector है, this seems to be doing very good to me. Like talking to you, I realized कि this sector is also doing very good. Since आपने मेरे को बोला, मेरे को एक story याद आया. मेरे को है ना एक company आके बोला था that they will be making Copter 7. तो आई सेड कि Copter 7 क्या है, तो बोला कि नहीं, धोनी की कंपनी है, बियर बनाती है. सो आई सेड अच्छा, बियर कहाँ बना रहे हो? बोलते हैं, अरे ऐसी कोई कंपनी है जिसका नाम है सोम डिस्टिलरीज. सोम डिस्टिलरीज को देखा, 200-300 करोड़ की कंपनी थी. आई सेड 200-300, एंड ये जो कंपनी Copter 7, ये 14 करोड़ का सेल्स करा था, इसका वैल्यूएशन कुछ 300 करोड़ के ऊपर था. भाई, मैं बोला यार,
Yes.
वो तो so sometimes it's crazy, how you get ideas.
Correct.
But
Correct. Correct.
हाँ, but the point is anyways, coming to the sector side, I think the sector is also very good if you see the amount of consumption which is again happening.
Correct.
So yeah, so and Sula ka bhi agar aap dekho, the kind of numbers which are coming in, we're not getting those numbers with with United Spirits and all those now. But if you see, there's a lot happening in this segment as well. And पहले क्या था, पहले you were very concerned कि boss, if I want to drink, I will only have a Kingfisher. But today that is not the same. Today you are ready to experiment with a different brand as well. So it is an open market for people. It's a red ocean. So anybody can come in and set up a good brand over here. So that is a risk as well in this particular sector.
Correct. Nice. Nice point. Yes. Mm. So, thanks for your patience and time, and obviously for the pointers which you have shared. This was from my side, sir.
Ravi ji,
Thanks,
thank you
thanks,
so much for your
Pratik.
questions, sir. I also learned a lot from those. It got me thinking. Thank you so much for your questions, sir.
Thanks, Pratik. So, Pratik, one question is from Lakshita and one is from Vipin Gupta, sir. So, I'll read it out one by one. So, last two questions for the day. Surely we took more than the
Hello.
planned time. So, the one second. So, the first question is from Vipin Gupta, sir. So,
Hello.
he's asking
Am I
how
audible?
Pratik.
Yeah,
Am I
Pratik,
audible?
you're audible. I think Prince, you are not audible.
Guys,
And
guys, guys, guys.
for some reason, I don't know, my mic was also not working, and finally it has started working. So
So,
my question was from the
Hello,
recycling sector itself.
guys.
Yeah, am I
Pratik,
audible?
is anyone audible to you?
Am I audible?
You are audible to me. Let me check with him on
Hello.
WhatsApp. So
Yeah,
Pratik,
hi
some
Pratik, am
voice.
I audible to you?
If
So
you
let's
can
wait.
hear
Let's
me,
connect with
I
him.
will log in back. I think there is some network connection, guys.
Yes, yes. You drop and join again. Guys, some connection issue. He'll be joining shortly. And meanwhile, I would request you guys to surely follow him so that he can active and keep coming with so candid and yet very informative sessions with us. So yeah, Pratik, am I audible now? So Lakshita, you can also speak and ask your question directly. Yeah, Lakshita, you there? Okay, so I'll read out the questions from Vipin Gupta and Lakshita Pratik. So,
हाँ
so
जी.
the question is first is how he see the scalability of business and moat available to the company.
Prince, I think your mic is on, but you're not audible to me. Am I audible to
Lakshita,
anybody?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, Lakshita, you are
All
so
right.
audible.
Lakshita, you go
All
ahead with
right.
your question
So
and
Earlier, I think my mic was not working. Pratik, my question is from the recycling sector itself. Are you looking at this sector only because of EV, or are you looking at this sector because of the recycling theme also?
No, I see. I started looking at it from the EV side only because what happened was that there was a pyrolysis plant that I was looking at. I was studying a pyrolysis plant, how a pyrolysis plant is set up. So what happened? This was 10 years back, and what happened was that pyrolysis plant could not be set up anywhere. It could not be set up in an industrial place. It could not be set up in a residential place, anywhere because of the gas that it would emit. But what happened was that I had a friend of mine who told me that he set up the plant over here, like in an industrial place. I said, how was it possible? Ammonia निकलता है. उसने बोला कि नहीं, now there is a way you can collect it and you can sell that as well. Now pyrolysis में you convert your rubber into oil and you're selling it. The point is, I realized this is a very good business. When I saw this guy, he was recycling lead. और लेड में क्या था, देयर वर लॉट ऑफ बैटरीज, एवरीबडी इज गोइंग इनटू लिथियम, आई अंडरस्टैंड, बट लेड में देयर आर लॉट ऑफ प्लेसेस, आपके जो सोलर एनर्जी हुआ, विंड एनर्जी हुआ, वहां पे जो बैटरीज आएंगी वो काफी टाइम तक लेड बैटरी ही रहेंगी. और लेड का देयर इज अ वेरी सॉलिड प्रॉब्लम दैट इज गोइंग ऑन. So that was what was on my mind. This is how I connected with him to ask the management about. So I just messaged them saying that I just want to understand what the company does. And but before I asked a friend of mine that I want to invest in this company, is it okay? उसने मेरे को बोला नहीं नहीं, इसमें बहुत प्रॉब्लम्स है, उसकी बाहर की सब्सिडरीज है, वो सारा पैसा बाहर निकाल देता है, इंडिया कुछ लाता नहीं है, उसने अफ्रीका में क्यों खोला, उसने काफी सारे क्वेश्चंस बताए. जैसे मैंने आपको बोला दैट पीपल विल गिव यू द एंटीथीसिस. So I had a good amount of antithesis to correct, and this is what I did when I called them up and I corrected every single antithesis. So I understood that nay, the demand will stay, the demand will not decrease, the demand will stay. There are two players, one is Pondy Oxide and one is this guy. ये vision 2026 निकालता है, Pondy Oxide भी vision 2026 निकालता है. What this guy does, that guy does, everything was there. But if you see the shareholding and everything, मेरे को थोड़ा सा ग्रेविटास का थोड़ा सा क्लीन लगा. सो लुकिंग एट द मार्केट साइज, द स्पेस वेयर ही वाज इन, एंड सिंस आई एम ऑलरेडी देयर इन द सेक्टर, इट बिकेम इजियर फॉर मी टू अंडरस्टैंड कि लेड का क्या हो रहा है, which is one of the reasons I got a bit more bullish on gravita.
All
So,
right, great. Thank you, Pratik. That was all from my side. Prince, do you have any questions for Pratik?
yeah, Pratik, am I audible to you?
Yes, yes.
Please check your. I mean, I've sent you the message over WhatsApp. So if you can check, there is one question from Vipin Gupta, sir. So would appreciate if you answer that.
Okay. Okay, so the question is how he sees the scalability of the business and moat available to the company. Okay, any single, acha, for the micro, what is, acha, this scalability of the business and moat available for the recycling industry, is it? Am I right?
No, not recycling, but any company in particular.
Okay, but every company will be different, yeah. See, what happens is how I would scale would be very different from how another person would scale. This is exactly what I was trying to say. There is a book by the name of Scale by Jeffrey West. You should read that book and see how exactly scaling can be done. But anyways, coming to the point, I'm just trying to tell you that every single sector, the scaling will be different, the modes will be different. So I can specifically tell you about maybe automobile, something, if that works for you. Maybe that would work. It can be maybe an example for others. Yeah.
I missed the last 5 seconds, Pratik. Can you please
Yeah,
come
yeah,
again?
Pratik. That will be a good example, actually.
Okay. So if you talk about, see, automobiles now, right now, automobiles ka sabse bada part, what I am supposed to do is I have to sell, or I have to sell rickshaws. This is what the main part is. Now, where exactly is the demand coming from? It's coming from EVs. Now, the moat over here will be either technology, because what technology do you have in the EV side is going to decide how good you do going forward, or the business model that you decide. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया that if you come up, जैसे there was a company, there was a startup that I had spoken to. Those people, they lease out vehicles as well. So if you talk about leasing out vehicles, that's a good idea. But if you can make you can make it affordable for the people and still make a lot of money, it's very difficult to penetrate into that kind of a business and do well. So it's very subjective from company to company as to how your moat and your scalability will matter, I feel.
Great. Thanks. I hope it answered. Vipin Gupta sir couldn't join due to some glitch on his part, but again,
Oh, okay.
interesting example.
Ha.
So, Pratik, I mean, you must have been tired speaking continuously for so long. It was pleasure listening to you today. I mean, I thanking you would be, I mean, a lesser way to.
Arey, nahi, nahi, thank you. Being a part of the industry, this is my passion. So thank you for bringing me closer to my passion. And I thank all the people who are listening. Thank you so much यार. सैटरडे के रात को बैठ के मुझको सुन रहे हैं. मतलब सही में मतलब वर्ड थैंकिंग देम यार. Thank you so much यार everybody.
Nini Pratik, like we have built a great community. I must tell you, these
हाँ
are
जी.
the niche audience which listen to hours of conversation and they never get tired of these conversation. In fact, they learn from experience of our guest. And I mean, some people in the comments were asking about the recording. So surely this session is recorded and I'll be uploading this over my YouTube channel shortly. So those who are joining for the first time, they can connect with the YouTube and Twitter handle. And
हाँ.
I mean, emphasize once again, do follow Pratik, and you will surely cherish the learnings which he shares over his handle. And time and again, I mean, we will come with these interesting sessions with Pratik. So thank you so much, Pratik, for coming
Thank
today.
you, buddy.
It was
Thank
a
you.
pleasure and
Thank
one
you,
of our
everybody.
best.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone, for keeping with us for so long and do connect with us. It gives us the necessary motivation so as to bring the best people in the industry. And the best learning for today's session is like, and the more I mean, the more you feel like a grounded person, the more humble you get, and market has too much to offer to you. And no work is small. You should try to learn the nuances of market by participating in or going visiting business and finding the nuances. As Pratik was saying, even a simple idea can bring you the best investment in the market.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks,
you.
brother. Catch you later.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone. Take care.
Good night, everybody. Good night. Thank you. Bye.